Hello everybody, my name is Kory Stuemke. I am the member-at-large for the Menomonie Theater Guild and a longtime, well I guess you could say longtime friend of the Mabel Tainter. I am not unfamiliar with this stage, which is why I decided to shoot up here on the stage. I saw some videos going around of people reading some of their favorite childhood books, and I decided that's something that sounded really exciting to me, and I wanted to share some of my favorite childhood books with all of you. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with that, and I'm going to start with The Poky Little Puppy. This is The Poky Little Puppy by Jeanette Sebring Lowry. 5 little puppies dug a hole under the fence and went for a walk in the wide, wide world. Through the meadow they went, down the road, over the bridge, across the green grass, and up the hill, one right after the other. And when they got to the top of the hill, they counted themselves. 1, 2, 3, 4. One little puppy wasn't there. Now where in the world is that poky little puppy, they wondered, for he certainly wasn't on top of the hill. See right there, there's 4 puppies, they're looking for their friend. He wasn't going down the other side. The only thing they could see going down was a fuzzy caterpillar. He wasn't coming up the side. The only thing they could see coming up was a quick green lizard. There's a caterpillar and a lizard. But when they looked down at the grassy place near the bottom of the hill, there he was, running round and round, his nose to the ground. Like this, you see him all peeking over at him. What is he doing? The 4 little puppies asked one another. And down they went to see, roly-poly, pell-mell, tumble-bumble, till they came to the green grass, and where they stopped short. What in the world are you doing? They asked. I smell something, said the poky little puppy. Then the 4 little puppies began to sniff, and they smelled it too. Rice pudding, they said, and home they went, as fast as they could go, over the bridge, up the road, through the meadow, and under the fence. And there, sure enough, was dinner waiting for them, with rice pudding for dessert. And they're all chasing after it. But their mother was greatly displeased. So you're the little puppies who dug holes under fences, she said. No rice pudding tonight, and she made them go straight to bed. But the poky little puppy came home after everyone was sound asleep. He ate up the rice pudding and crawled into bed, as happy as a lark. The next morning someone had filled the hole and put up a sign that said, Don't ever dig holes under this fence. But the 5 little puppies dug a hole under the fence just the same, and went for a walk in the wide, wide world. There's Poky eating up the rice pudding and being terrible and digging under the fence. Through the meadow they went, down the road, over the bridge, across the green grass, and up the hill, 2 and 2. And when they got to the top of the hill, they counted themselves. 1, 2, 3, 4. One little puppy wasn't there. Now where in the world is that poky little puppy? They wondered, for he certainly wasn't on top of the hill. He wasn't going down the other side. The only thing they could see down was a big black spider. He wasn't coming up this side. The only thing they could see coming up was a brown hop toad. But when they looked down at the grassy place near the bottom of the hill, there was the poky little puppy sitting still as a stone, with his head on one side and his ears cocked up. I wanted to share there's the 4 little puppies looking at the hop toad. I like hop toads. "What is he doing?" the four little puppies asked one another. And down they went to see, roly-poly, pell-mell, tumble-bumble, till they came to the green grass, and where they stopped short. "What in the world are you doing?" they asked. "I hear something," said the Poky Little Puppy. The four little puppies listened, and they could hear it too. "Chocolate custard," they cried. "Someone is spooning it into our bowls." And home they went as fast as they could go. Over the bridge, up the road, through the meadow, and under the fence. And there, sure enough, was dinner waiting for them with chocolate custard for dessert. But their mother was greatly displeased. "So you're the little puppies who will dig holes under fences," she said. "No chocolate custard tonight," and she made them go straight to bed. They're all very sad. But the Poky Little Puppy came home after everyone else was sound asleep, and he ate all the chocolate custard and crawled into bed as happy as a lark. The next morning someone had filled the hole and put up a sign that said, "Don't ever, ever dig holes under this fence." But in spite of that, the five little puppies dug a hole under the fence and went for a walk in the wide, wide world. Through the meadow they went, down the road, over the bridge, across the grass, and up the hill, 2 and 2. And when they got to the top of the hill, they counted themselves. 1, 2, 3, 4. One little puppy wasn't there. Now where in the world is that Poky Little Puppy, they wondered, for he certainly wasn't on top of the hill. And there he is eating all of the custard, and there's the sign. He wasn't going down the other side. The only thing they could see going down was a little grass snake. He wasn't coming up this side. The only thing they could see coming up was a big grasshopper. There's a little grass snake, and there's a grasshopper. But when they looked down at the grassy place near the bottom of the hill, there he was, looking hard at something on the ground in front of him. "What's he doing?" the four little puppies asked one another. And down they went to see, roly-poly, pell-mell, tumble-bumble, till they came to the green grass, and there they stopped short. "What in the world are you doing?" they asked. "I see something," said the Poky Little Puppy. The four little puppies looked, and they could see it too. It was a ripe red strawberry growing there in the grass. "Strawberry shortcake!" they cried. They're all excited for the strawberry. And home they went as fast as they could go, over the bridge, up the road, through the meadow, and under the fence. And there, sure enough, was dinner waiting for them, with strawberry shortcake for dessert. But their mother said, "So you're the little puppies who dug that hole under the fence again. No strawberry shortcake for supper tonight," and she made them go straight to bed. But the four little puppies waited till they thought she was asleep, and then they slipped out and filled up the hole. And when they turned around, there was their mother watching them. "What good little puppies," she said. "Come have some strawberry shortcake." And this time, when the Poky Little Puppy got home, he had to squeeze in through a wide place in the fence. And there were his four brothers and sisters, licking the last crumbs from their saucers. "Dear me," said the mother, "what a pity you're so poky. Now the strawberry shortcake is all gone." So the Poky Little Puppy had to go to bed without a single bite of shortcake, and he felt very sorry for himself. And the next morning someone had put up a sign that read, "No desserts, ever, unless puppies never dig holes under this fence again." The end. I think that's a commentary on being the youngest child and being able to get away with whatever you want, like I did. But it comes to a halt, so be good. Next, I'm going to read another one of my favorite books from when I was wee little. It's called Tootle. So this is Tootle, a story by Gertrude Crampton. Far, far to the west of everywhere is the village of Lower Train Switch. All the baby locomotives go there to learn to be big locomotives. The young locomotives steam up and down the tracks, trying to call out the long, sad toot of the big locomotives. But the best they can do is a gay little tootle. Lower Train Switch has a fine school for engines. There are lessons in whistle blowing, stopping for a red flag waving, puffing loudly when starting, coming around curves safely, screeching when stopping, and clicking and clacking over the rails. And there's one of the baby trains right there. Of all the things that are taught in the Lower Train Switch School for Locomotives, the most important thing is, of course, staying on the rails no matter what. And there's all the baby engines in class. The head of the school is an old engineer named Bill. Bill always tells the new locomotives that he will not be angry if they sometimes spill the soup pulling the diner, or if they turn the milk to butter now and then. But they will never, never be good trains unless they get 100% A+ in staying on the rails no matter what. All the baby engines work very hard to get 100 A+ in staying on the rails. After a few weeks, not one of the engines in the Lower Train Switch School for Trains would ever think of getting off the rails, no matter what. One day a new locomotive named Tootle came to school. Here is the finest baby I've seen since old 600, thought Bill. He patted the gleaming young locomotive and said, "How would you like to grow up to be the flyer between New York and Chicago?" "If a flyer goes very fast, I should like to be one," Tootle answered. "I love to go fast. Watch me." And there's Tootle right there. He raced all around the roundhouse. "Good, good," said Bill. "You must study whistleblowing, puffing loudly when starting, stopping for a red flag waving, and pulling the diner without spilling the soup." And there's Tootle going around the roundhouse and all the other trains. But most of all, you must study staying on the rails no matter what. Remember, you can't be a flyer unless you get 100 A+ on staying on the rails. Tootle promised that he would remember and that he would work very hard. He did, too. He even worked hard at stopping for a red flag waving. Tootle did not like those lessons at all. There is nothing a locomotive hates more than stopping. But Bill said that no locomotive ever kept going when he saw a red flag waving. One day, while Tootle was practicing for his lesson and staying on the rails no matter what, a dreadful thing happened. He looked across the meadow he was running through and saw a fine, strong black horse. "Race you to the river," shouted the black horse, and kicked up his heels. Away went the horse. His black tail streamed out behind him, and his mane tossed in the wind. Oh, how he could run! "Here I go," said Tootle to himself. "If I am going to be a flyer, I can't let a horse beat me," he puffed. "Everyone at school will laugh at me." His wheels turned so fast that they were silver streaks. The cars lurched and bumped together, and just as Tootle was sure he could win, the tracks made a great curve. "Oh, whistle!" cried Tootle. "That horse will beat me now. He'll run straight while I take the great curve." Then the dreadful thing happened. After all that Bill had said about staying on the rails no matter what, Tootle jumped off the tracks and alongside the black horse. The race ended in a tie. Both Tootle and the black horse were happy. They stood on the bank of the river and talked. "It's nice here in the meadow," Tootle said. When Tootle got back to school, he said nothing about leaving the rails. But he thought about it that night in the roundhouse. "Tomorrow I will work hard," decided Tootle. "I will not even think of leaving the rails no matter what." And he did work hard. He practiced tootling so much that the mayor himself ran up the hill, his green coat-tails flapping, and said that everyone in the village had a headache, and would he please stop tootling. So Tootle was sent to practice staying on the rails no matter what. And there's the horse, and there's Tootle racing him around the great curve. As he came to the great curve, Tootle looked across the meadow. It was full of buttercups. "It's like a big yellow carpet. How I should like to play in them and hold one under my searchlight to see if I like butter," thought Tootle. "But no, I am going to be a flyer, and I must practice staying on the rails no matter what." Tootle clicked and clacked around the great curve. His wheels began to say over and over again, "Do you like butter? Do you?" "I don't know," said Tootle crossly, "but I'm going to find out." He stopped much faster than any good flyer ever does, unless he is stopping for a red flag waving. He hopped off the tracks and bumped along the meadow to the yellow buttercups. "What fun!" said Tootle, and he danced around and held one of the buttercups under his searchlight. "I do like butter," cried Tootle. "I do." And last the sun began to go down, and it was time to hurry to the roundhouse. That evening, while the chief oiler was playing checkers with old Bill, he said, "It's weird. It's very weird, but I found grass between Tootle's front wheels today." Said Bill. "There must be grass growing on the tracks." "Not on our tracks," said the day watchman, who spent his days watching the tracks and his nights watching Bill and the chief oiler play checkers. Bill's face was stern. Tootle knows he must get 100% A+ in staying on the rails no matter what, if he's going to be a flyer. Next day, Tootle played all day in the meadow. He watched a green frog, and he made a daisy chain. He found a rain barrel, and he said softly, "Toot!" "Toot!" shouted the barrel. "Why, I sound like a flyer already," cried Tootle. That night, the first assistant oiler said he had found a daisy in Tootle's bell. The day after that, the second assistant oiler said that he found hollyhock flowers floating in Tootle's 8 bowls of soup. And there he is playing in the meadow. And then the mayor himself said that he had seen Tootle chasing butterflies in the meadow. The mayor himself said that Tootle had looked very silly, too. Early one morning, Bill had a long talk with the mayor himself. When the mayor himself left the lower train switch school for locomotives, he laughed all the way to the village. "Bill's plan will surely put Tootle back on track," he chuckled. Bill ran from one store to the next, buying 10 yards of this and 20 yards of that, and all you have of the other. The chief oiler and the first, second, and third assistant oilers were hammering and sawing instead of oiling and polishing. And Tootle, well, Tootle was in the meadow watching, and butterflies flying and wishing he could dip and soar as they did. Not a store in Lower Train Switch was open the next day, and not a person was at home. By the time the sun came up, every villager was hiding in the meadow along the tracks, and each of them had a red flag. It had taken all the red goods in Lower Train Switch, and hard work by the oilers, but there was a red flag for everyone. Soon Tootle came tootling happily down the tracks. When he came to the meadow, he hopped off the tracks and rolled along the grass. Just as he was thinking what a beautiful day it was, a red flag poked up from the grass and waved hard. Tootle stopped, for every locomotive knows he must stop for a red flag waving. "I'll go another way," said Tootle. He turned to the left and came up another waving red flag, this time from the middle of the buttercups. When he went to the right, there was another red flag waving. There were red flags waving from the buttercups, in the daisies, under the trees, near the bluebird's nest, and even one behind the rain barrel. And of course Tootle had to stop for each one, for a locomotive must always stop for a red flag waving. Red flags, muttered Tootle. This meadow is full of red flags. How can I have any fun? Whenever I start, I have to stop. Why that I think this meadow was such a fine place? Why don't I ever see a green flag? Just as the tears were ready to slide out of his boiler, Tootle happened to look back over his coal car. On the tracks stood Bill, and in his hand was a big green flag. Oh, said Tootle. He puffed up to Bill and stopped. This is the place for me, said Tootle. There is nothing but red flags for locomotives that get off their tracks. Hooray! Shouted the people of Lower Train Switch, and jumped up from the hiding places. Hooray for Tootle the Flyer! There's Tootle getting all the red flags, and there's everybody celebrating once he learns his lesson. Now Tootle is a famous 2 miles a minute flyer. The young locomotives listen to his advice. Work hard, he tells them. Always remember to stop for a red flag waving, but most of all, stay on the rails no matter what. And that was Tootle. I'm not really sure what the message is there, but if you are a train, please stay on the tracks. Alright, and the last book I'd like to read for you today is The Monster at the End of This Book. This is by John Stone. What did that say? On the first page, what did that say? Did that say there will be a monster at the end of this book? It did? Oh, I am so scared of monsters. Shh. Listen, I have an idea. If you do not turn any pages, we will never get to the end of this book. And that is good, because there is a monster at the end of this book. So please don't turn the page. You turned the page! Maybe you do not understand. You see, turning pages will bring us to the end of this book, and there is a monster at the end of this book. But this will stop you from turning pages. See, I am tying the pages together so you cannot... You turned another page! You do not know what you are doing to me! Now stop turning pages! There! I, Grover, am nailing this page to the next one so that you will not be able to turn it, and we will not get any closer to the monster at the end of this book. All right! Do you know that every time you turn another page, you not only get us closer to the monster at the end of this book, but you make a terrible mess?
Hey, boss!
This will stop you from turning pages. A heavy, thick, solid, strong brick wall. I would just like to see you try to turn this page. Do you know that you are very strong? The next page is the end of this book, and there is a monster at the end of this book. I am so scared. Please do not turn the page. Please, please, please. Oh, well, look at that. This is the end of the book, and the only one here is me. A laughable, furry old Grover am the monster at the end of this book. And you were so scared. I told you there was nothing to be afraid of. The end. I always loved that book growing up, and I still do. Oh, I am so embarrassed. It's very small, probably can't read it there. That one's always been super cute to me. We're all monsters, and we're all at the end of this book, and that is just fine. So thank you for letting me read some of my favorite books to you today. It was a lot of fun. Maybe we can do it again sometime. If you have any other favorites that maybe you'd like someone to read here on the stage in the future, definitely let us know. Let somebody at the Mabel know, and we will do our best. Thank you. Have a great day.